This Cookout Southern 500 DFS Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code RACESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome into another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, and it's DFS Day on the show. Of course, only two of the series taking place, so we get to dedicate all the episode to just one particular race as we focus this week or today on the Cup Series and the Cookout Southern 500 DFS. Cody, save me.
Yes, Rod, we do, and more importantly, not only do we get to focus on each series individually, our friends at Underdog blessed us with early lines. We have to record this a little ahead of time. We got some stuff going on, but they got their fantasy projections set up, so we get to talk some Underdog picks for the Cup Series as well, which is a lot of fun, and I'm pretty excited for that because I've got a couple that I think are just fairly well mispriced, and I appreciate Underdog for that.
You know, that's the thing about it too. This I'm looking at it, and as I was going through and picking my Underdog picks, I was like, holy cow.
Yeah. Like some of them you look at and you're like, yeah, okay, like that's pretty tough. I don't really know which way to go. And some you're like, wait, that's at that? What? And It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
It is a very, very beautiful thing. Of course, we are at Darlington, the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. The track too tough to tame. The lady in black, stop me if you've heard any of these before. But yeah, these drivers are going to be tested. They came here in the spring, but Cody, as we've talked about several times over the course of last week, this Cup Series race, 100 miles longer than the race that they did in the spring. That will definitely come into play, as will the changing track conditions, as will the fact that there's 100 more laps to lead in this one. So this makes this DFS episode a lot different than the one we did in the spring.
Yeah, all of the above really is going to come into play. And you know, we talked a lot on the betting episode. If you haven't listened to that, make sure you go back and do so just to kind of get more in-depth thoughts on it. But that extra 100 miles is going to make a big difference. What is happening at the end of 400 is likely going to be different at the end of 500. Changing track conditions into the night. 400 miles is already tough on one of the most grueling tracks, if not the most grueling track on the circuit. And then you add the extra 500 miles. Not only we didn't even really talk about that in the betting episode. The pressure of it being the final race of the regular season will come into play for a lot of drivers, whether right on the bubble or guys like Kyle Busch below the bubble that need to get that win, stuff like that. So it's going to come into play. And you know, in your DFS stuff, something might be cashing after 400 miles. It's not cashing after 500 miles. So make sure you take that extra 100 miles into consideration. And then, you know, that's just getting to the finish. Also, we have an extra 100 miles to lead here, so not quite 100 laps, but pretty close, right? And an extra, 100 miles worth of fast laps, which are going to add up very quickly on the DraftKings side of things. So yeah, this is going to be, boy, you're going to need to nail the one or two guys who lead the 150, 160 laps in this race, because if you don't, it's going to be a rough evening for DFS for you.
Yeah, and there's gonna be those because if you look through the race history of especially the fall race, you're gonna see a ton of drivers that have led 100 laps, so or more, 150 laps or more. So definitely we have to nail those down, and we will. We'll give you our high price, low price, and mid price, or high price, mid price, and low price driver. I'm sure that's the order of it, and then we'll give you our underdog picks. It feels like it. It's Thursday right now, but we'll get there, I'm sure. But yeah, so we'll talk about all of that. But I want to tell you first that everything in the merch store is 10% off with promo code football. Get yourself some of that awesome Racing Gambling Podcast swag, whether it's a coffee mug, whether it's a hoodie, because the weather, believe it or not, is going to get cold sooner rather than later. We're entering that in between summer and fall type of weather. Some of you are already experiencing cold weather. Make sure you pick up that hoodie, that sweatshirt, whatever you want. That's Racing Gambling Podcast. Support the show, support the SGPN, and just get 10% off, which is more important. Everything in the store. Use promo code football. Plus, college football has kicked off, so you can tune into the Sports Gambling Podcast and the college football experience for all of their favorite Week 1 picks. All right, Cody, like we said, it is the Cookout Southern 500. We are set for 367 laps around this 1.366. Not quite an intermediate 1.5, not quite a short track at Darlington for 501.322 miles. This is it, Cody. This is the last race before the playoffs for these Cup drivers. It's do or die time for some of these guys.
Yeah, it is do or die time. No doubt about it. Of course, if you throw in a new winner that's below the cut line, that could really change things too. Not quite the chance you have had last week at Daytona, but there's definitely some guys below the line that could claim victory for sure. So, yeah, going to be interesting. We've kind of talked about the battle at the bubble there, but Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, those are the four main players. A little bit of Martin Truex Jr., but especially if there's no new winner, he is pretty safe. So. Yeah, it's it's gonna be a good one. I think it was Dale Jr. was talking about, people were mad that Daytona got moved out of the last spot, but if you think about it, we still got all the same drama at Daytona and the can there be a winner and upset things, and then now we get to take it to one of our traditional, long time running Southern 500 under the lights at night, and put it all on the line right there, one of the toughest tracks, one of the longest races. Go claim those last couple of spots. So maybe NASCAR didn't completely get it wrong by setting the schedule up this way.
No, and this is going to be, like you said, a very grueling race. And so it's a good way to just kind of end the regular season and see who's got the grit to either get themselves in if there's a new winner or solidify their. I mean, this is a very challenging track to do it. And I'm glad they're doing it and ending it there. That way we can see all of their just skill on display. But all right, Cody, well then, as we dive into this, I'd say it's time to start giving out some of our favorite DFS picks. How about you?
I think that it is, Rod. So going to jump over to the board. And you got Denny Hamlin at the top, 11,000. Kyle Larson, 10,700. You're definitely going to need some of those guys in your lineups. But the guy that I'm targeting the most at the top of the board, Mr. Tyler Reddick. He's been on fire lately. He's been really good at Darlington in the past. I like all of those things. Again, leaning more heavily into the 500s previously than the spring race, but both can definitely be weighed in. Second place last year in the 2311 Toyota car in the Southern 500. 2022, he was driving for Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing in the number 8 car. Third place finish there. So that shows me, Rod, over the last two Southern 500s, he's made it to the end of these long, grueling races, been right there in the mix, whether it was in the 8 car with RCR and Chevy or whether it's in the 45 car with 2311 and Toyota. I absolutely love that. If you go back over the last 5 races here, spring and fall included, he's at a top 3 in 3 of them. If you go back to the spring race here, he led 174 laps. Boy, that'd be pretty nice in your DFS lineup this weekend, wouldn't it? Led 174 laps and was going to be competing for the win there. Of course, him and Buescher got into the tussle. Bad finish. Definitely erased some of those laps led for you for sure, but he, top 3 in 3 of the last 5, and had he not wrecked in that one at the end of it, would have been top 3 in 4 of the last 5, which is pretty solid. 28th place last week at Daytona. Against Daytona, toss it out, but 6 in a row. 7 top, or boy, let me try that again. 6 races before that, he was in the top 7 in all 6 of them, I guess is how I was trying to say that. But he's been getting you plenty of DFS points. You go back to Michigan, 61 points there, 54.5 at Richmond. The Brickyard, 53.7, 39, 44, but 57, 60. He's been reeling in plenty of DFS points. Definitely a little higher price than he has been, which might scare some people off. I'm not scared of that. Look, Tyler Reddick is coming into this race as the leader in the regular season title. So, he's battling it out with Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. He's 17, 18 points over those guys respectively. He's going to be looking to put up a good, solid day. He's been really good here. His car owner's been really good here in the past in this race as well. So give me Tyler Reddick, 10,500.
Yeah, you can't argue with Tyler Reddick. And in fact, he's coming into it right when he needs to, right as the postseason begins. He's making that push. He's probably going to get that extra unless he completely craps the bed this week. You're going to lock down that championship, the regular season championship. So yeah, all things going for that 45 team, and I don't see it slowing down at all. So definitely a good DFS play. He's probably going to be one of those guys that leads a ton of laps this weekend if he puts himself in position to do so. So I like that. Although it's funny, Cody, stumbling on numbers. As somebody who hates math, just in general, I can't stand it. I'm not a big math guy. I use my words more than I use my numbers. If you would have told me years ago that I would have been in this business talking numbers all day long, I would have been like, you're crazy. But here we are. And numbers are hard, okay? It's not easy.
Numbers are hard. And if you can see my handwriting, that makes it a lot harder because it's hard to read what I wrote down. And yet for some reason, mine's worse, Rod. I promise you. Long story, but I was filling out paperwork earlier this week for something for my daughter's school, and the lady's like copying it, and she goes, "Is this how you spell that?" And it was just not even close. And I go, "Yeah, if you got any questions, I'll just spell it out for you because nobody can read what I'm writing down." It's all right.
No, they're always like, "Is this a or a W?" I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know either, but here we are. All right. My high price driver, I can spell this. It's Brad K. He is at $9,800.
Oh, did you hear? Was it Burton? I think it was Burton on Saturday night at Daytona that slipped up and called him Bread.
Oh.
He goes, "Here comes Brad Keselowski," and I was like, "Yes, Jeff Burton, you're doing it too. I love it."
That's what I'm talking about, Brett. I mean, look at we here coined Brad Keselowski because of the King's Hawaiian sponsorship, and it's good to know that even the booth. See, Jeb listens to our Jeb. Well, I'm sure Jeb
might too, but Jeff does.
Jeff listens to us, and hi, Jeff Burton. Good to hear you, and good to see you listening to the show. But I'm going to take Brad Keselowski, $9,800. There's something about Darlington that Brad loves to death, right? He won here in the spring, but before that, 6th place in the fall, 4th place in the spring of 2023, 7th place, 34th in 2022 in the spring race, but 7th place before that in the fall. Overall, I'm getting all choked up about it. Brad has 12 top 10 finishes in 21 starts. His average finish here, 10.9. Not bad at all. Finishing position is going to be great. I mean, he led 37 laps in the spring race, which is encouraging. However, I don't know if you're going to bank on a whole lot of laps led this time around, but if you do, ladies and gentlemen, Brad Keselowski comes in 5th on the list of all-time lap leaders with 432 laps led around this, behind Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Truex, and Hamlin. So one of the leading lap leaders in the circuit. But you just got to look at what he's done over the last few weeks. I mean, he's averaging 37.9 fantasy points per race. He's $9,800. Probably not the return that you expect on some of these other guys, but still almost 4 times what you're paying for him. That's not bad at all, considering, you got guys like Denny Hamlin, like Cody said, at $11,000 right now. Yeah, he's probably going to be up there, and he's averaging 41 points per race as far as fantasy is concerned. So he's going to be up there. He's going to lead some laps, but how many lineups do you think you can really solidify with Denny Hamlin in there and really get some good value? And then how many people are going to be using Denny Hamlin this weekend? You're going to want to differentiate yourself in some spots in these GPPs. I think the way to do it is Brad Keselowski, because again, you're going to get the potential stability. What do we say? Smart ability.
We'll workshop that word.
Yeah. We have the smart ability to get there, but yeah, no, I mean, look, you get the possibility of some laps led. you know you're going to get a good top 10 finishing position because that's what he does on this track. He does have a win here in the fall, as well as Cookout Southern 500 win in his book. So yeah, for Brad Keselowski, you're taking a step down from these higher price guys, saving yourself about $1,200, $1,300 to maybe beef your lineup up in the middle of it. But yeah, for sure, Brad Keselowski, $9,800. I think a steal at that price.
Yeah, I like it. Led 37 laps here in the spring, so if he can get out front, he can do something with it. He's obviously locked in the playoffs, so he's got some room to play around and pull some strategy stuff. This is a place that he really likes, and you've got to lean towards those drivers that really like this place because it's a special place, Rod.
Yes, it is. And the lady in black always awaits these folks, but Brad Keselowski tends to dance with her better than a lot of other folks out there. So, all right, we'll give you our mid-tier drivers. But before we do, let me tell you first about Underdog Fantasy. You're going to tell you all about Underdog Fantasy at the end of the show when we start making our Underdog picks. But in the meantime, Underdog Fantasy Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry, or you can play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball. Best Ball Mania is live now with $15 million in prizes. You can also use specials and boost on all flex entries. Hang tight. We're going to give you, like I said, all of our favorite Underdog Fantasy picks after the DFS portion of it, and you're going to be able to play along with this. We're going to give you quite a few of them, so you're going to have some fun building your entries. So sign up right now with our promo code. In the meantime, Race SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACE SGPN. Let's take a step down to the mid-tier drivers, Cody. And who are our mid-tier driver options for this DFS slate?
Yeah, Ron, I'm going to jump down to Bubba Wallace, 7,700. Being a little bit disrespected in the price book here. I mean, he was 9,000 last week, and it stayed, so I get that. But 8,300 the week before, 78. So he's they brought him back down to earth a little bit, but I don't really know why. But I'm glad they did. $7,700 for Bubba Wallace. Look back over the last 3 Southern 500s, like I've been lucky to do. 3 years ago, 21st place, not the best, right? But the last 2 seasons, 9th place, 7th place. Those are good, strong runs. Getting to the end of this race, that's what you're looking for in a driver that you're, at this price range. Plus, he's got that ability to get out front and lead laps. He is, one of these bubble drivers that's below the cut line right now. They have to come in. They have to have a tier 1 day. I've already talked about his teammate Tyler Reddick, who I'm extremely high on this weekend. We know how good Tyler Reddick's been here, as we just documented. Again, like I mentioned in the betting episode, was car owner Denny Hamlin really fucking good as well here? So you're going to put those two minds, those two great drivers together. They're going to pour all of that into Bubba. They're going to pour all of that into the 23 car and its setups and all of that stuff for this weekend. This car is going to show up with some possibilities, some potential. This could turn into a strategy race in some regards, right? It's a very long, grueling race. If they can find a way to put themselves in position for really good track position, sit up front, lead some laps, maybe try and win some stages, whatever it is, that's going to help your DFS day as well. Go back over the last 4 races here. He's been top 9 in all of them. So that's good finishes kind of all around the board the last few times we've been here as I throw shit at my computer. But he's been killing it in the DFS game lately. 54 points at Daytona last week. Rough day at Michigan, right? He started good. He did lead 5 laps, 14 fastest laps, but had a bad finish after getting involved in a wreck there. But 45.5, 60.7, 53. 23, but 54. Some really good days from Bubba Wallace here lately. You think about where Bubba Wallace is really good usually. Kansas, Michigan, fast intermediates, a little more worn out. Darlington, not a direct comparison, but some comparisons can be made for sure. And I think that, look, Bubba Wallace, as much hate as he gets, as much as divisive as he is, we saw it last season. He's a pretty clutch driver, not to be too shocking. Michael Jordan's his owner, right? Maybe it might be required to work on the team, although Denny Hamlin's his other owner. Maybe not so clutch. I'll have to rethink that. But anyways, Bubba Wallace, when it came down to it last year and he needed to get into the playoffs on points, they put their nose to the grindstone and just did it and got it done. And they've been doing it this year. He's in. Harrison Burton doesn't win last week, right? So that's what's got him out now. But it's not over. They can get it done, and they know that. Because he's only sitting, I just had the points pulled up. He's only 21 points behind Chris Buescher. and he's 6 points ahead of Ross Chastain. But you think about it, right? If you can get 5, 10, 15 stage points to Buescher not getting any, suddenly you're only 6 positions on the track behind Buescher. Like, it can go away very quickly. And I think that they know that. They're well aware of that. This isn't we have to win this race. They could put themselves in position. I think they would like to. That's why I gave him out as one of my winning picks as well. But I expect Bubba Wallace 23-11 to be really solid this weekend. So Bubba Wallace 7,700.
Yeah, again, it's the whole Toyota thing. They're probably going to end up being good in this race, and so you gotta go with them. I mean, whether it's 23-11, whether it's Gibbs, they're going to be having a bang up day, and just picking these guys for your DFS lineup is not going to go wrong. So I'll kind of fade another one. I don't always try to build a GPP lineup, but I guess this is where I go all the time, trying to find you guys that value in places that not a lot of other people are going to look. Because I don't think a lot of people are going to look at Josh Berry. $7,100 for Josh Berry. He did end up finishing third here in the spring race. I know, the extra 100 miles and all that. But I will say that when you look at the fact that he started 33rd and finished third in this race, that is highly encouraging no matter where you end up in those last 100 laps, so long as you, I think this is where he had to start in the back, right? He had to actually start in the very back of the field because of some adjustment. But again, not a bad DFS day for you there. And he also hasn't necessarily been putting together bad DFS days for you at some of these shorter tracks, right? Richmond started 30th, finished 11th. And then you look at Iowa, started third, finished 7th, led 32 laps. That's actually a pretty good DFS day for the 4-car. New Hampshire just recently too, started 10th, finished 3rd. It hasn't been all that great for him lately, which is why I don't think a lot of people are going to be on him, with finishes of 26th at Nashville after starting 2nd. Tanked your DFS day there. Dead last at Chicago, started 5th at Pocono, finished 20th. Indy started 37th, finished 35th. Richmond 3rd, finished 14th. Michigan started 16th, finished 22nd. And Daytona, it's Daytona. We're not even going to rehash the 5th place start and the 26th place finish from there. But again, I think this is an opportunity for Berry, who was driving the 48 the last time he was out, the very first time he was out, finished 30th on this track. But like I said earlier in this spring, 33rd place finish, a 33rd place start, 3rd place finish for Berry. I potentially see a day that he runs inside of the top 15. And if he ends up qualifying in the lower 20s or the mid 20s, that's a pretty solid day for a guy like Josh Berry, with the upside of a top 10 finish, right? I mean, I'm not throwing him into the top 5, but I do think top 10 could be within the realm possibility for Josh Berry. They're out, right? I don't think they have any sort of hope, and this is a win and in, but I don't know that they're necessarily putting their faith in a win. So they just want a nice solid day.
I think that they believe that they could win this race. It's definitely a bit of a longer shot, but I wanted to talk myself into Josh Berry so bad, and I've seen a few people that are on him, but man, like, it's just been really fucking rough for them. Like, the last 6-7 weeks have not been good, which probably will steer some people off of him. We know that he's a good driver, and maybe this extra 100 miles will come in handy for him. I don't believe he's gotten any Southern 500 starts yet, as he's just a rookie. I know he's made some starts before, but I can't recall a 500 where he started. So, I don't. It's different for sure, and I think probably not as much of a cash play as a GPP play, but I do like it.
Good stuff. All right. Well, then I will. We'll take our toys and head down to the low price drivers. Why are words so hard today, Cody? I just don't understand. You know, it's funny when you do a podcast every single day. This is what people don't understand, right? When you do a podcast every day, you're talking every day, and so there's a theory out there that you are only allotted a certain amount of words in your life to use. I guarantee you that you and I, Cody, have used up our allotment, and probably most of the people that are listening to us allotment for the rest of their lives. So
yeah, I think, what are we, 488 episodes? Yeah, I think we've used a few words here or there. We've only messed up like half of them, so it's great.
It's true. Look at the reviews. They all say that we mess up only half of the time, so thank God for that. All right, Cody, who's our low price driver?
Yeah, going to dive into the bargain bin. Look, you're probably going to need to stack a couple of guys at the top of this board, higher priced guys, because there's going to be, if you look back through the history of the Southern 500 over recent years, it's not been one guy that just leads 300 laps. Like, you got one guy that leads 155, one guy that leads 100. You're probably going to need to spread it out a little bit, right? So let's dive down near the bottom and see how far down we can go before we aren't disgusted and in ourselves. I found a guy that I like that we didn't talk about on the betting episode, but I think deserves a little bit of props, and that is Zane Smith, around $5,400. He's nice and cheap. He's still a bit off of everybody's radar just because, the season started out just horribly for them. Things weren't going right. He's gotten fired, basically. Trackhouse let him go, obviously. Everybody thought he was going to get the front row job. Now there's a bunch of rumors. Ford doesn't really want him to come back because of how he left before. That's kind of a mess. Hopefully they get that all figured out. But he's racing for a job at this point in time because I don't think he's got anything lined up. And he's been proving that he could do pretty well. Basically, since Nashville, where, by the way, he finished in second place. What a hell of a day for him there. Scored you 76 DFS points. He's had really strong runs since then. Chicago, he scored 39.8. Rough day at Pocono. Shit's going to happen, right? But the Brickyard 400 starts back in 27th, finishes in 17th. It's nothing that impressive. 36.5 points for you. 16.9 the next week. 57.5 at Michigan. A career best 7th place finish. 13th last week at Daytona. It's Daytona, so take it lightly, obviously. But he's really, really picked things up. Now, if you look back at what he did at Darlington here in the spring, things didn't go well, right? He finished 35th place. Didn't lose you many points, though. Even though he started 27th, finished 35th, only lost you 1.6. So you don't have to worry about him losing too many points. But he's got that ability, that upside of a 76-point day, a 57.5-point day. I don't think he's going to be that popular. I think that he saves you a lot of money. And again, to the momentum thing that we talk about a lot, right? And we can't look back on previous Southern 500s because he doesn't have any. So, it's that one Darlington start. It wasn't great. I'm going to throw it out and take a gamble on him. But cheap, and he's been getting it done lately. And pressure's sort of on him right now. We know how good of a driver Zane Smith is. We saw it for years in the Truck Series. It was a little bit of a slower start, but they're figuring things out. We've seen the Spire equipment has some ability to do things, right? Look at what Carson Hocevar has done this year. Honestly, you're lucky I didn't throw Corey LaJoie in this episode. It's for all of you out there. I'll be talking about him in Atlanta next week. Don't worry. But Corey LaJoie finishes like 13th place in this race every single year. Might not be a bad DFS look also, so shout out to him. But again, Spire equipment, right, and what they can do. 5,400 for Zane Smith. I think he could be a very sneaky, cheap play that could be a big difference maker for you at the bottom of the board.
Love it. I actually looked that way, but I went a different direction. So I'm glad you threw Zane Smith in there. And I actually, I'm going with Harrison Burton. Actually, that's the guy that I'm picking. $5,900. Obviously, coming off of that gigantic win, they are now locked in the playoffs. But don't look now. Harrison Burton, not really all that bad at Darlington when it comes to finishing and having decent DFS days. Go back to his first start here in 2022. In the spring, he started 25th, finished 14th. In the Southern 500, started 28th, finished 21st. And then in the spring of 2023, started 14th, finished 6th. His best finish on this track. In the fall, not a good day for him. In 2023, he crashed out of the Southern 500, finished 35th, but came back this spring to finish 22nd after starting 35th. Each and every time has had some pretty decent DFS days. Now, again, a guy this cheap, right? You're just looking for him to not lose you too many points, which, again, last week he got you 65 at Daytona, but the week before that, he got you 50 points in Michigan. Not a bad day for Harrison Burton there. And then he's turned in days of, 42 points earlier in the season. So overall, not really a bad. We don't really talk about Harrison Burton very much, especially even in DFS. But average start 25th, average finish 25th. He just doesn't really move too much and doesn't really lose you too many points. So, again, when you're making the type of investment that you're making in Harrison Burton this week, then you're sort of banking on him riding that momentum now that he's in the playoffs. That team is going to kind of take a couple more chances here and there just to get better track position, to get him set and ready for the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, this is a track where, like I said, he's been able to at least gain positions more than he's been able to lose them. And I think at $5,900, it's not a bad investment to make. I know there may be some folks that probably are going to play him because of the fact that he won last week, but that's why they're playing him. They're not playing him because they think he's a value on the specific track. They're just probably looking at it and go, oh, well, he won last week, so he must be good. But you can take advantage of some of these better when the talent pool is a little bit more up, and they're going to think, oh, well, these guys are just playing him because no, you're playing him because he's actually halfway decent at Darlington and maybe in for a good higher end of the top 20 finish for him after probably starting back in the back where he's used to starting. So give me Harrison Burton, $5,900 for my low price driver.
Yeah, I really like this play. I do. You mentioned some people play him just because he won last week. Yeah, you got to wonder because like some books, he's just ridiculously priced to win this race. Like how many people are like, whoa, this guy won last week and he's 250 to 1 and just go bet it. I would imagine the books make a decent amount of money off of those people. Don't be one of those people. He's not going to win this week. But I agree with you. It's funny, actually, when I was digging through Xfinity Series statistics, looking at, guys who've been traditionally good at Darlington, Harrison Burton kept jumping out. I'm like, damn, I wish he was in this race, which he might be next year, Rod. It sounds like, according to some of the interviews I've heard this week, sounds like he's already got a deal done for next year, not ready to announce. My guess, if anybody cares, Junior Motorsports, I think that's where he's going to end up in the Xfinity Series. We'll see. Could happen, could not happen, but I agree he's a really good play. He's actually been super solid in DFS here lately, good at Darlington in the past. Again, pretty cheap option, under $6,000. It's going to allow you to squeeze in a Reddick and a Larson or a Reddick and a Hamlin or whatever, a Keselowski, a Reddick and somebody else, maybe whatever you're trying to do at the top of the board, which, again, I think is going to be important this week. So, I really like the Harrison Burton call out.
Indeed. There are some openings at Junior Motorsports, so you might want to be looking into those Indeed.com resumes to see if he fills the need. All right, done with DFS. Get out your pen and paper real quick. I will go over our drivers. Cody started you off with Tyler Reddick as his high-price driver. Yes, Cody, you've got that one. And then, of course, I gave you Brad Keselowski at $9,800 as my high-price driver. Cody dipped down to Bubba Wallace at $7,700 as his medium-price driver. I said Josh Berry at $7,100 was my mid-tier driver. Cody said Zane Smith at $5,400 was his low-price driver, and I said Harrison Burton at $5,900 is my low-price driver. We'll come back with some underdog picks after the break, but first, let me tell you about Rhythm. Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football? Of course you have. You guys are true degens out there. Do you even know what a sports betting model is? Of course you do. SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, props, whatever you want. Rhythm's got it. Build your own model. You can do that, or you can copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or even still press build a model for me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. The Rhythm College football model loved Delaware State and the points this last weekend. Build your own model. Get ready for week 1 of college football. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Let's move on to Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy, of course, as we know, allows you to pick better than or worse than the projected finishing position of the driver of your choice. Stack up all of those. Watch the multipliers go higher and higher. And then at the end of the day, just sit back and watch as your account is credited because you are brilliant and smart. And you take some of our suggestions and then toss the ones that you don't like and fill in your own. But yeah, we definitely will give you 3 of our favorites here, better than or worse than for Darlington. So Cody, of course, make sure you sign up with our promo code RACESGPN if you have not already to make your account going, because guarantee right now you're going to want that deposit bonus because it's going to make you a lot richer.
Yeah, they're fucking generous with their deposit bonuses, and you're not going to regret signing up for it because it's a lot of fun for racing, trucks, Xfinity, Cup, F1, all on there. They got NHRA, they got USAC, and then all other sports you want pretty much. We're working on IndyCar. We'll get there eventually. I know that's been requested. We're working on it, but a lot of fun stuff over on Underdog, Rod. And one of the fun things when I was talking earlier about looking at their projections and being like, man, just seems off. Talked about this guy in the betting episode earlier this week. Chase Elliott, better than 13.5. Come on, what are we doing? All right, I'll get the negative points out of the way first, right? 2 of the last 3 Southern 500s, which is what I've been looking at. Didn't finish better than this. So that's where the red flag kind of gets up a little bit, and it's like, okay. But this number just seems way too low of a projection for a guy that's been as strong and as solid as Chase Elliott. Rod, he is 17 points out of being the regular season champion. They need to show up and have a strong, solid day. They need to get some points. Look, even if you don't catch Tyler Reddick and you don't win the title, second place is still better than third place because you're getting more points to carry you on going forward. Every single point's going to count. They're going to show up and get it done. So 8th place last year in the Southern 500. That is better than. So he is currently on a winning streak on the better than in the Southern 500. So I will take that. 36th, 31st in the 2 previous years again. Just got caught up in some stuff. That's going to happen in a long race. He's going to need to avoid that. But 3rd place last spring, 5th place last May, 7th place in May of 21. So he's been pretty solid overall. 5 of the last 7 races in total here at Darlington have been better than for Chase Elliott. So I do like that. Just those 2 outliers for it. Been the most consistent driver this season. It was a big thing. Hadn't finished worse than 20th place all the way up until Chicago, really until Daytona last week. That 21st place at Chicago has been his worst finish, and a bad finish at Daytona last week too because he got wrecked. But he has been really, really solid. And we've gone through the entire regular season, 25 races, and twice he's finished worse than 20th place. That's not better than 13.5, but it's in the area of being close to 13.5. You got that extra 100 miles that we got to get through, which has been a little bit of a struggle for him in the past. But I think we're going to look back. I did pick him as the winner because of the number. I don't think he's, if he's the same number as Tyler Reddick or Kyle Larson, I wouldn't be picking him. But I think at the number he's at, he offers a lot of value. But I think he could just come out and run 8th place all day and have a good, strong, solid day. You don't really hear much from him. And look at the board at the end of the day. There's Elliott, 7th, 8th place. And you're like, he was projected at 13.5. It just, I think we're going to look back and be like, wow, that seems so low. Unless he gets involved in a wreck or something, and it's going to be like, damn, that trend has kind of continued. But if he actually runs all 500 miles, I don't see how he's not better than 13.5. So Chase Elliott, favorite play on the underdog board at 13.5.
Well, we did give the Hendrick Motorsports guys a lot of love on the betting show. We didn't even realize that we were doing it. So, I think, Larson's going to be good here. Byron's going to be good here. Elliott's going to be good here. The only guy we left off of that one, Cody, was
Rod wanted to complete the circle.
I needed to give him some love. I needed to give the 48 car some love because I feel like he felt left out. And I looked at this projection, right? I looked at this finishing projection. I was like, I want to take the worst then. I really do, because when you look at the way he's been performing the last few weeks and the fact that we didn't even bring him up on the betting episode other than to say he's there too, in the garage, the same garage as the other 3, then I was like, nah, you know what? I'm going to take the better than. It's 15.5. It just feels a little bit disrespectful for Alex Bowman, who in the last 2 Southern, or the last Southern 500 that he was in was 33rd, but he crashed out of that one. But the one before that, remember, he wasn't in the spring race in 2023 because he was broken. And that was the one where Josh Berry took over for him in that car. But 2022, 10th place in the Southern 500. And then in the spring, he actually ran 8th place here. So he can definitely get it done. Lest we forget, folks, that he did finish 3rd at Pocono, which again, not, a comp track, but not a definite long track either, right? He did finish 8th at Iowa. He did finish 8th earlier here, 7th at Kansas, 8th at Dover, 8th at Martinsville, 4th at Bristol. He's turned in some decent.
He was our darling top 10 bet early this year before the Dirty Boys realized how good we were doing on that and stole it and killed all the value, Rod.
Killed it all, man. That's what it was too. He was actually one of the better drivers earlier in the season. He has fallen off a cliff. We absolutely know this, right? It's his win at Chicago. And I know it's a street course. It was rainy. There was all kinds of conditions there. But his average finish this season overall, over everything, 15.2. That is still higher than 15.5, which therefore tells me that doesn't matter. I mean, it's been a lot of bad finishes in a row. His average start is 14.7, by the way. Last week at Daytona, I know it's Daytona, but he finished 16th, 27th at Michigan, 28th at Richmond, 31st at Indy. Those have been horrendous, which is why that finishing projection is at 15.5 right now because they don't believe that he can get there. He finished 14th at Nashville. I know that's not a comparable comp track, but still a track that's not your typical mile and a half. So, yeah, I mean, look, is it going to take some work for that 48 team? You bet your ass it is. But I believe that they are in panic mode too, because Bowman needs help. Bowman needs to get someplace, or else that 48 team may be looking over the fence to see who else might be out there. I know seems like a far-fetched thing, but look, if the other three drivers are driving away with it and you're the one holding up the rear.
Yeah, well, you got to think he's always watching his back, and like playoffs start next week. So we're a playoff driver, right? He's locked in because of that win, but you got to get things rolling in a good direction. And I think, we've made points on all three of his teammates. So if we expect all of them to be pretty good, I think that we could expect Alex Bowman to just be top 15. It's not, I mean, that's not that far fetched. This isn't a top 10 bet or anything like that. Just top 15 is all he has to do to finish better than. So I do like this. Rod, another one that just right off the ball. I logged into my underdog and I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Absolutely love it. The retired driver still on the board. Martin Truex Jr., 9.5. Give me the worst then. Look, Martin Truex Jr. is retired, Rod. That's really all you need to know. So go ahead with your no, just kidding. But he's not been good as of lately. You go back and you look over his last three Southern 500s. 4th place in 2021, great finish there. 31st in 22, 18th in 23, not great finishes there. He's got 2 finishes better than 24th place in the last 8 races. Not 2 finishes better than 9.5. 2 finishes better than 24th over the last 8 races this season. Only 3 top 10 finishes in the last 14 races. That means only 3 times in the last 14 races he's gone better than 9.5. I know he's a veteran. I know he's in good equipment. I know he's been around. I know he's done it before. He's already retired. We've seen this story before. Kevin Harvick last year. It just, for whatever reason, when these guys announce that they're leaving, it's just like the bottle runs dry and there is nothing else left to squeeze out of it. He doesn't seem to have it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and that's great. That's fine. I would love to see Martin Truex Jr. win at least one more race this year, and we can know, hey, there's his last time in victory lane. Great story. He's going out on top. Wonderful. But when it comes to betting on it, when it comes to playing fantasy against it, you got to go where the numbers take you no matter what your heart wants, Rod. My heart wants him to finish better than 9.5, but my brain says he's not going to. Give me Martin Truex Jr. worse than 9.5.
Yeah, once those official retirement papers slide across the desk, I'm telling you, it's a lot like the military.
Oh, it's
once
so
you
much
get
like
that
the
separation, once you get that, you're like, this is it. I literally only have however many days.
You see that window? You're literally marking them off. You got that little, well, probably now with the electronics and stuff, you just have the calendar reminder on your phone, but I was crossing the fucking days off on the calendar and just like, what's the least amount of work I can do today to count another day off until I'm getting out of the Navy and never seeing this place. Now he's going to see the place again because he's coming back to race a little more, but it's different when you're done, I guess. So gotta go with the trends.
200 days in a wake up, 199 days in a wake up. You always that wake up was always part of
That's Rod's new song he's writing.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna count every single day too. So
yeah,
all the way from 200 to 1. So it's gonna be
200
a long song.
Well, that's 99 bottles of beer on the wall. Let's get going with that one too. All right. My Ty Gibbs redemption tour continues on the Underdog Fantasy. For those of you who listen to hear me say Ty Gibbs' name, you're in luck today because I'm going to say it. I'm going to say nice things about Ty Gibbs because his finishing position is projected at 8.5. I think he's going to do better than that. So give me the better than 8.5 for Ty Gibbs. Look, I mean, I had to eat crow because the last couple of weeks, he's definitely been a top 5 driver. He was a top 3 driver at Michigan. He was a top 5 at Daytona. Started on the pole in Pocono, so actually had some speed there. But you go back to the spring race in this one, he actually finished in second, right? I know there was circumstances that were outstanding, but I still think he would have had a better than 8th place finish in that race had everything not gone to hell. So that would have gotten you there as well. Go back to the beginning of the season, right? 9th place at Bristol, not better than 8.5, but still a damn good finish for the rookie, really, I guess, in all rights and accounts, or the sophomore, by all rights and accounts. 3rd place at Phoenix, 5th place at Las Vegas. He's done well. He's doing well. He's getting better every single race. He seems to be on some sort of at least a positive trajectory going up. And then, of course, the playoffs, right? He's got to do something good this week to solidify and to get himself into the postseason, and keep himself there, right? I mean, I don't know that he's going to get past Cody. I don't have the playoff standings up in front of me right now, but I do know that he's not a bubble driver. He's not a
bubble. He's 39 to the good. So, but with the new winner that's only 18, it can go away quickly.
It sure can. So that's they don't want to leave anything to chance. Plus, if we're talking about Toyotas being good this weekend, then Gibbs is one of those Toyotas. And I think, again, 8.5, I see a top 8 finish for him. Do I see a top 5? I don't know. Did I? I probably do too. And I
picked him to win the race.
Well, I was going to say, and I actually picked him to win the race. So I definitely see that as well. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a good day for Gibbs, and I think better than 8.5.
Yeah, this is one of the lines that scares me a little bit more. I feel like, Brian, I know, was in the comments the other day saying he thought he was a little bit overrated and stuff, and 8.5 is a little low, I think, maybe, but man, he should be really good. He's been good here. 2nd place in the spring. Obviously got the extra 100 miles. Keep that in mind. But I expect a very, very good day from Ty Gibbs. If I was picking a side, it would be the better than. Somebody else I'm picking the better than, Rod. I am all chips in on Mr. Tyler Reddick, your 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion. Better than 5.5. I don't need to rehash all the stats. I already talked about him earlier. He's really fucking good at Darlington. He's on a really good stretch as of late. Things are clicking. He's coming into this race with a chance to wrap up the regular season title, right? He's got a 17-point lead coming into this race. Mike Jordan is on his hood. I don't know if you saw the car. It's a interesting looking car, but they signed a God, I don't remember which company it was. I should probably know that, but a card deal with one of the card companies that, like sports cards. They're going to make cards of Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick, but he's got a sports card on the front, on his hood. It's got like Michael Jordan on there and some other great, I don't remember who else on there, but some great athletes. It's like, talk about pressure coming into this race, but got Michael Jordan on the hood. Michael Jordan's probably going to be in the house. He's been in the house a lot lately. Tyler seems to do better when Michael's there. I hope Michael shows up. Give me Tyler Reddick better than 5.5.
Yeah, there's something about Michael Jordan being in the vicinity that makes you want to step up your game. Hell, I was at Sonoma.
I want to step up my game when I know he's going to be there.
This is what I'm saying. Like, I was there in 2020 at Sonoma, and all of a sudden, through the garage comes Michael Jordan. I'm like, holy hell! Like, I don't have anything to do with him right now, but I still want to be the best I can be because Michael Jordan's in the house. So
that's right.
Yeah, definitely. That guy's tall. There's no way I would ever. I tried to high five him, but I need a ladder for sure. All right. My last underdog pick is going to be Chris Buescher. I know a lot of people. I love Brad Keselowski, and Brad Keselowski is going to be running around Chris Buescher. But this track, not so much, actually, believe it or not. This is not a track in which Chris Buescher hangs with his buddy all day long. His finishing position set at 12.5. I'm going to take the worst then in this one. Let's look back at some of his finishes here. In the spring, he started 3rd. Finished 30th. We know what happened there. Led 21 laps in the whole 9 yards, but still not really that great. He did have a good Southern 500 in 2023 where he finished 3rd. But before that, 26th, right? In 2022, kind of a bad run there. He was 9th place in 2021 in this one, but 26th before that. Really, this is not a track that he's consistent on, but I will say, his average finishing position this season is 14th. Did have a 6th place at Michigan. That's great. But 18th at Richmond, 22nd at Indy, 11th at Pocono, 18th at Iowa, 14th at Gateway, right? I mean, these are all tracks that 17th at Dover, you would expect and hope that he would do better than. 15th at Martinsville. Just some not good finishes in situations where it's a little bit comparable to where we're going to be at. That extra 100 miles, hell, we saw what happened to him in the 400-miler in the spring. Who knows what's going to happen to him with those extra 100 miles. So the lady in black has not been very inviting to one Chris Buescher. So I'm going to just say this is if it's a top 15 performance, it'll be 13th or worse for him. So give me Chris Buescher, worse than 12.5. It's a spicy take. I get it, but
it is. This is a very spicy take from you, Rod. But hey, I enjoy spicy takes. I made a case for him to be top finishing forward on the podcast. I think that even if you play the worst than on this, that still is a possibility of hitting either way. But yeah, man, oof, I don't know. I don't know if I could pull the trigger on the worst than, Rod. But shout out to you for doing so. By the way, it is an Upper Deck sponsored car. That's who's sponsoring Tyler Reddick. And the players on the front of his car is a GOAT trio of Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and Wayne Gretzky. They're just missing Tom Brady, and it would be the Mount Rushmore of GOATs.
Interesting. I was looking to see if I had any Upper Deck cards in my collection.
I have
No, I do.
I know I have a ton. I have 3 big, large buckets of cards over here that I need to go through. There's probably millions of dollars worth of cards in there that I don't even know about. Maybe not. That's probably just me dreaming. But it's probably worth $20 combined. But yeah, I know there's some Upper Deck. I got old school NASCAR cards in there. Pretty great.
I got a buddy who's got a ton of Pokemon cards that are they could probably be rated and be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So I'm always trying to tell him, dude, get those rated so that way you can lend me $10 because
oh yeah,
I'd love
I'd like to be friends with him too, if you don't mind. Send us up later.
Sure, let's go. Everything about him, and we'll all go crazy for that. All right, get out your pen and paper again. We're going to go over our underdog plays for this Cookout Southern 500. Cody started you out with Chase Elliott, better than 13.5. I said Alex Bowman, his teammate, would be better than 15.5. Cody said Martin Truex Jr. would be worse than 9.5. I said his teammate Ty Gibbs would be better than 8.5. Cody said that Tyler Reddick would be better than 5.5. And I said Chris Buescher would be worse than 12.5. That's it, buddy. That is the underdog and DFS episode of this show. That'll
do it. Love it. This was a good one. I'm very excited. Southern 500. It's a crown jewel event for a reason. It's a big, big race and going to be a lot of fun on Sunday evening. So yeah, make sure you go back and listen to the betting episode if you haven't already. We'll be back tomorrow. One final show on Friday with the Xfinity Series, breaking down DFS for that as well. Looking forward to that, Rod. In the meantime, make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube page. Numbers been popping up here a lot lately. Appreciate the new listeners filing in. If you are a new listener, shout out to you. Thanks for joining us. Go over to the YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell. Not live on this one, but a lot of times we do go live. Love your interaction and thoughts. Also, follow me, Rod, over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. There's a lot of it. We'll just leave it at that. And see you guys tomorrow.
Yes, sir. See you guys tomorrow. Follow me in the meantime on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on. Every song that gets stuck in my head, you can hear in real time because I share that as well. But yeah, all kinds of great stuff. We'll see you tomorrow. Go back and listen to everything else in the meantime and get caught up. Love you all. We'll talk to you guys soon. Hang out with us in Discord. Till then, let's go racing and let it ride.